Greetings, the religion students. I look forward to our conversations today about your reactions to the Dostoevsky reading. And I hope that the earlier video clip helped you unpack it a bit as you made your way through this really enigmatic story. And for our asynchronous class today, I know I'll be speaking with each of you about the reading and just about the beginning of the course in general, but I wanted to offer this morning just a few minutes of connection between Dostoevsky and Nietzsche, where we were last week. So Dostoevsky and Nietzsche are both 19th century thinkers, but Dostoevsky died in 1881. Nietzsche died in 1900. So Dostoevsky was about 20 years older than Nietzsche. And Nietzsche read Dostoevsky quite a bit and very much was influenced by him. And Nietzsche was an atheistic thinker. Okay, so no God outside the human sphere. And as we talked about last week, deeply critical of Christian morality, theology, though very compelled and intrigued by the one true Christian, as he called him, Jesus. But Dostoevsky was not atheistic. He was a Russian Orthodox believer. But even despite this difference, Nietzsche praised Dostoevsky as one of the most profound of all psychologists. They were both, Nietzsche and Dostoevsky, what we might call sort of cartographers of the inner world, really like everyone will look at this semester. Dostoevsky had a very powerful way of articulating the most very kind of subtle dimensions of the human spirit or psyche. He grew up in Russia, and his father was mysteriously murdered by a helper on their estate, like a farmhand. And scholars say that this marked so many of Dostoevsky's writings later that deal with the fascination of murder, its connection to poverty. And when he was a young man, Dostoevsky was very much interested in the possibility of democratic reforms in Russia, but he was arrested for his political activity, and he was imprisoned for several years in a very brutal prison camp in Siberia. And when he was released from prison, he published some of his famous works that maybe you've heard about. He published Crime and Punishment, Notes from the Underground, all about sort of the different meanings of human suffering. And then in 1868, he published a book called The Idiot, which is actually a very staggeringly beautiful depiction of Jesus. And finally, in 1880, he published The Brothers Karamazov. Right before he died, this was the last book he wrote. And you read the most famous section, the Grand Inquisitor of this book, Brothers Karamazov, for today. And in this book, Dostoevsky joins Nietzsche in examining the question of what it means to be free. Are we really free under the Christian morality that we so take for granted in the West? And it means that these two thinkers, in asking these questions, Nietzsche and Dostoevsky, they can be very much counted among the existentialist writers in the West, writers who all sort of think that there might be something kind of disturbing going on in the basement of ordinary Western morality. Existentialists don't always agree about the details, and some, like Dostoevsky, are existentialists like Dostoevsky, are believers. Some, like Nietzsche, aren't. But nonetheless, all existentialist thinkers are linked by their very common commitment to freedom, choice, authenticity, alienation, and rebellion. Existentialists respond to the disenchantment of the world in modernity, all sort of agree, even if they believe in God, that God isn't just some figure out there pulling the strings, but we are kind of here on our own and have a desire to really face up to that. Some do it theistically, sort of with God, some atheistically, but they very much share in kind of maybe a tragic sensibility about liberal modernity, about the Enlightenment, very skeptical about progress. And they raise questions like Nietzsche, are Western morals debilitating, or are they salvific? Or things like, we say we want freedom, but do we really want freedom? And our reading for today, The Grand Inquisitor, is a classic chapter from Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. And here, Dostoevsky seems to suggest that for all of our slogans, freedom isn't really something that we desire to obtain. Sort of the priest in Ivan's story exclaims on page 13 of your reading, I tell thee that man is tormented by no greater anxiety than to find someone quickly to whom he can hand over that gift of freedom with which the ill-fated creature is born. So, what does it mean to hand over our freedom? The conversation with the Grand Inquisitor is about how Christianity has been a mechanism by which people gladly give over their freedom. And today we might think of what else we see. What other sort of mechanism functions in our society as a place where people kind of give up their freedom and hand it over? And is that necessarily a bad thing, or is it a good thing? But like Nietzsche, for Dostoevsky, the alternative to this, to kind of handing over your freedom to Christianity, isn't exactly enlightened secular rationality or just kind of the death of religion alone. It's more subtle than that. Even something kind of like Nietzsche, he gives a kind of surreal, strange answer. And some people say that it is the kiss that Aloysia offers Ivan at the end of the discourse that is one of Dostoevsky's answers, seen as kind of an embodied teaching of Jesus, that a response cannot be rational discourse about freedom, but embodied acts of almost free, nonsensical love, a kiss. But like Nietzsche's aphorisms that presented us like various strings of argumentation all at once, not like one rational argument leading us to one destination. Dostoevsky's novel is similar. There's different characters. Ivan, Aloysia, the Grand Inquisitor, all of these different figures enable the readers to go all the way with different worldviews and kind of try them on, rather than kind of take us by the hand and lead us just to one place. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts today when we speak on this enigmatic story, any reactions to the story on its own or in relation to Nietzsche. And I look forward to getting to know each of you more in general. So I look forward to talking to you soon. Enjoy this snowy day. Okay, bye-bye.